Hey guys, Christian here, and in this video I want to talk a little bit about a conversation I had with a Year 12 guy the other day, and he's really stressed about how his class isn't progressing at the same rate as a lot of other schools in the state. So if you feel like you're sort of sitting a little bit behind the 8 ball because of what's going on in school, check this out. So in the light of the recent webinar that I ran, this guy sort of sent me an email and he said, look, after listening to the webinar and you talking about, where roughly all the schools should be up to, I'm really concerned that my school isn't up to the same point. So we've really struggled with content so far. In the case of methods specifically, he was actually really worried about the fact that they hadn't started either exponentials and logarithms or circular functions yet. So I sort of sent him back an email and said, hey, look, thanks for letting me know. Can you send me a few more details? And he's messaged me back saying that he hasn't done any SACs yet. He's just getting through this revision content so far, so that he's still technically looking at year 11 content, and that they don't have a SAC planned until week 5 or week 6 of term 2. Now, to be honest, that's really kind of frightening. The fact that you've still got the bulk of what I would call the meaty part of Year 12 methods content left to go, and you're just about to start term 2, realistically haven't even started the Year 12 content, it's a little bit scary. Now, every teacher has their own way of setting out the curriculum. There's no problem there, and I have the utmost respect for so many teachers out there who get through this massive amount of content in the limited time that they have. But there are other teachers, unfortunately, that can't quite keep up with the pace and can't quite juggle what's going on. So if you feel like you're a little bit behind the ball at the moment, and if you're sort of thinking around the start of term 2 that you haven't started exponentials and logarithms, haven't started circular functions, and calculus is nowhere in sight, then it may be time to start taking things a little bit into your own hands, because otherwise you're going to find towards the end of the year, you're going to start to get really rushed, really panicky, and everything is just going to fall to pieces. So there are a few things you could do to sort of speed up the process yourself and start taking advantage of the time that you have left in order to maximize the possibilities towards the end of the year. The first thing I would say is make sure you actually have the conversation with your teacher and figure out where they're up to and what their plan is for the rest of the year, because without knowing that, you really can't know if you are actually behind in class or not. If you have a rough idea of what's going on in the months ahead, then you can decide for yourself if you think it's appropriate. To give you a sort of rough approximation, I would say realistically you need 3 to 4 weeks for exponentials and logarithms, probably 3 to 4 weeks worth of circular functions, and then probably around 6 weeks spent on the calculus section. That's a very broad guideline. Some teachers can do it much faster, some teachers will have to take a little bit more time, and it also obviously depends on your class, but that can give you a really rough idea of how much time you need to be thinking about when you're dealing with methods. If you don't have that kind of time available to you left in the year, then it's time to take things into your own hands. So if you're thinking that you do need to take things into your own hands, there's a few things you can probably do. The first one I would say is make sure you check out your textbook, right? That's a absolute goldmine of information. Some textbooks are better structured than others, but at the end of the day, they all have the content that you actually need to get through methods. Now, just taking it into your own hands and being able to learn a little bit ahead, even a small amount, will make a huge difference to how quickly you can pick up subsequent content. So if you sort of take the time and you get a little bit ahead on exponentials and logarithms, circular functions, calculus, whatever the case may be, you're going to have a much easier time, because in methods, everything builds off everything else. So as you start creating these little building blocks, you're going to make your life much easier to deal with. Another thing I would say to anyone who's got friends in any other schools in the state is give them a call, send them a text message on Facebook or text message, whatever. Figure out where they're up to in their school in methods and see if you're close to matching where they are. See, the best bet here is, at the end of the day, unfortunately, the ATAR is a competition. I did have a rant about this the other day, but moving beyond that, because the ATAR is a competition, you need to know where you are in relation to everybody else. And if you're feeling like you're behind the ball, you need to take some action to rectify that, basically, because otherwise you're going to be in serious trouble later on. If you want to take it to the next level, you start to look at things like video programs, and that's where things like the Making Sense of Methods program that we offer sort of comes into play. You can start to look at things that will help you actually learn the content beyond just the textbook. So here we're talking about, videos and workshops and workbooks and practice questions and, a place where you can talk to tutors and all that kind of stuff. You can actually take this into your own hands and kickstart your learning a little bit, so that as you move throughout the year, not only are you well and truly set for your own SACs, but you can rest confident in the fact that the content that you've learnt is going to get you through the exam, which unfortunately might not be the case if you continue at the pace you're going at. Realistically, it's a little bit scary, but it is something that is probably good practice for you to take into your own hands, especially as you move into uni and you take more and more responsibility for your own learning. This is probably a really good opportunity to practice that skill. So take it into your own hands, learn that little bit extra. You can jump ahead of the pack or even ahead of your own class just by taking a few really simple extra steps. All right, guys, well, that's it for me. Thanks very much for watching. My name is Christian Paul, and I will see you guys on the next video. Okay, bye for now.